Hello, everyone. I'm Emily.
And I'm Hannah.
And we are the hosts of the I Don't Think So podcast. Each episode, we discuss a different story, theory, or mystery and decide if we think it's believable or if we really don't think so.
Here at the I Don't Think So podcast, we are affiliated with Flurry Sports, and we present our theories, mysteries, and stories on your favorite place to listen to podcasts every Wednesday. If you like what you hear, definitely share our show with your friends and follow us on our different socials at I Don't Think So _EH. And check out our YouTube channel at IDTS Conspiracies.
Yeah, where you can tune in and listen to us on a different platform. We'd really appreciate it. You might not hear it over the radio waves, but both Hannah and I are a little under the weather. So if we have to take some breaks, fair warning. That's why.
There you go.
Definitely cold and flu season is here and caught up to me and
hitting us like a bus.
Swear, everyone I know is like, I'm dying. And I'm like, oh, cool. Ditto. But this will be one of our later episodes in December and wrapping out our conspiracy theories. So, Hannah, I want to talk to you a little bit about Brunswick Springs.
Oh, never heard of it.
Good. Right. I know. I was going back into my deep conspiracy hole and they're like, this is one of those ones that's really kind of weird. And a lot of people in the Vermont area, which is where Brunswick is, thoroughly believe in this conspiracy. And honestly, I think there might be some merit to it.
Oh, I feel like the people of Vermont are like a different crowd.
Oh, they're completely new people.
Like sometimes I feel like when you are that far removed from like other states within the United States, like Vermont's way up there.
Mm-hmm.
Like just think about the life differences of like them to like Texas.
Oh, miles away different people. Even like most northern states, they're just very different than even say like Montana.
Yeah.
Like they're just different people. Montana's a weird group too, but like
yeah,
no
lots of categories of weird within the US.
You get to be weird and quirky in every state.
Awesome. So let's hear it.
So, not shockingly, this is we're talking North Vermont.
Right. You're way up there.
Vermonters refer to the northeastern part of their state as the Northeast Kingdom. The moniker was said to be inspired by a 1949 speech by their U.S. Senator George Aiken, who basically was just like, this is such a beautiful country. It should be called the the Northeast Kingdom, which is the stupidest quote I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
However, if you ask some other people, he might have also said it in terms of like, it's poor, it's like overpriced, it's just gross. And that's why he called it Northeast Kingdom.
So he's being like sarcastic, they're saying?
So depending on who you ask, some people say he meant it in a very like endearing way, and some people are like, no, that's not what he meant.
Interesting. Okay.
This region has even been more recognized by National Geographic as one of the first geotourism destinations. So think about Vermont, looks like a little V, way up there, way up there. So way up north, you might have heard of the town called Maidstone. If you haven't, no big deal. This is where the most remote state park in Vermont is. And we're actually going a little north of that. So beyond that's the town of Brunswick, which is nothing more than like a little vacant one-room schoolhouse, town office building, and like 2 homes.
Okay, so not big at all.
Bustling, if you will. Robert Ripley from Ripley's Believe It or Not.
I was going to ask if that's who it was.
That's him. Once addressed the Brunswick Springs as the, quote, 8th wonder of the world.
Oh, even though there's nothing there.
Which kind of adds to its, like, mystique because it never was much of anything. Mm-hmm. And it's still not anything. The big piece of this, and Brunswick Springs is what we're going to be talking about, is because it's a true geographical anomaly. So here there are 6 springs that all emanate from one hill. Think about like how a soda fountain at a restaurant goes. Mm-hmm. that close to each other.
Weird.
And they all have completely different mineral contents.
So it's like got a weird passage to like underground, different worlds kind of thing or something?
Yeah. So then they flow, all 6 of them like divert separately,
Mhm.
and then they flow down like a steep hill before coming together into a spillway. And when they come together, it's this really like orange, murky, very iron oxidized looking thing, which will then flow down together to the Connecticut River.
Okay.
So from left to right, their deposits are iron, calcium, magnesium, white sulfur, bromide, and arsenic. So those are the 6 completely different mineral contents. So the thing with these waters is that to Native Americans, the springs were and still are considered magical healing waters. And they're on like this very sacred terrain.
Especially that arsenic.
Especially the arsenic one.
Just kidding.
In the right dosages. The Abenaki used to make like really long distance treks here to benefit from these waters. They often called them the medicine waters of the Great Spirit.
Maybe it's just giving them the needed nutrients and vitamins that they need.
Who knows?
We're missing from their diet.
However, these lands are considered to be very sacred and legend bound, so the
Cool.
Abenaki would only ever visit these springs during day.
Okay.
Not only was it seen as like a very spiritual place, it had kind of this metaphorical like dark side to it, especially after the sun went down. Part of the land's like divine designation meant that the Abenaki believed that there was like a supernatural balance here, so like light and dark, yin and yang forces. Something was said to reside and lurk in those Connecticut riverbanks, and that creature is both respected and
Feared.
widely avoided.
Sure, that makes sense.
We're not going to specifically talk about that creature. We could. Maybe when we talk about cryptids.
Ooh, tune in January.
In our later months. But the Abenaki were like, no. Thanks, but no thanks. Also near the springs of this area is called Silver Lake. It's not labeled on any atlases, but the Abenaki lore says that it's bottomless and that native spirits can often be seen around the shore.
So like weird connections spiritually in their waters in the area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, another lore there suggests that the doomed Rogers Rangers party, which they were fleeing from their raid and massacre on the St. Francis Indian village in Quebec, might have stashed some of their like plundered treasure there.
Ooh.
However, got lost and died in the forest, and so never returned.
Gotcha.
So, a lot of these forests and natural waterways have a lot of lore behind them. The forest now has seen a few people come out and commit suicide, as well as the murder of a baby. So the forest just has a lot of like weird shit going on.
Yeah.
So
interesting vibes.
It's a weird place. So the springs and their like natural healing powers have been kind of revered for centuries. But the first documented account in the public sphere happened in 1748 when Abenaki people allegedly led an injured British soldier to the springs. The soldier had like a really badly wounded arm, and he was fearing that like he would either have to amputate it or then would have like bacteria in it, which would then again lead to it being amputated, or he would die. And he was like, I just don't want to have to go through this horrible medical procedure in 1748 where it was like they were just going to lop off his arm basically with no like pain management or antiseptic or, knocking him out. So somehow through a ritual, a shaman worked these magic springs over his arm, and miraculously his arm returned back to pretty much normal. And this is pretty much the best documented case of the waters and their ability to heal.
Okay.
The Abenaki stated that you can the Abenaki state that you can clean up pretty much anything here, and that the 6 springs act almost like prescriptions. So it depends on how you mix them, like how you use them, when you use them, but it can basically cure anything. There are a few people in today's standards that also talk about like the mineral contents are completely different, but they could help with like some skin diseases. And like, as you know, some of these things are in common day medicines and vitamins. So even today, some people from local towns actually still make trips out to the property and believe that that's partially due to their longevity. So like back in the day, people were living up to like 90 years old, which now is like, it's old, but it's not like unheard of old.
Yeah.
But back in like the 1800s, 90 was like
Unheard of.
And several people out there were like saying, you know, I went and drank water every day and lived till like 90. So a lot of people were like, this is great. So this is where the trouble kind of starts after that soldier gets healed. The soldier comes back now to what is Brunswick after the French and Indian War. And he was so excited about his experience that he wanted to like bottle and make money off of the waters. The Abenaki were like, no, we're not gonna like sell the water from the Great Spirit. Like it needs to be free. But the word was kind of already out. Brunswick was charted in 1761, and as it is now, it was never very populated. But people did go up to up that area just super slowly. So Anglo and Abenaki began to find themselves in a pretty conflicted relationship over the springs. At first, everybody kind of took freely from the waters, but soon free sharing went down the drain. Capitalism took over, and some of this led to a huge fight where 2 Native Americans would be killed as a result.
Okay.
The curse of this area goes on to say that a grief-stricken mother of one of the 2 who passed was also a shaman or a sorceress, depending on who you ask, the storyteller. Basically stated that any use of the waters of the Great Spirit for profit will never prosper.
Okay.
Though no necessary record of that ever being stated. However, things that happened afterwards make it kind of feel like this land is cursed.
Yeah.
So shockingly enough, like we see a lot in the United States, white settlers began replacing Native Americans, who subsequently began to vanish from the land, and the Springs' reputation continued to grow. In 1790, the first boarding house to offer accommodations and like access to the waters was built by like a Frenchman, and that number grew to 12, operating on both sides of the Connecticut River by 1820. By 1845, people as far away from like coastal Maine were making the journey to come out and sample their healing springs. And these springs were being advertised to be able to treat things like inanimate limbs, vitality, kidney problems, consumption, and rheumatism. So people were like, done.
Love that.
Love that for me. Railroads were being built, and soon that made the trip to the springs super duper easy. A train would deposit the people at a depot in North Stratford, New Hampshire, where they would then board a carriage, and that would bring them across the Connecticut River over to Brunswick, where they could then stay in those lodging and be fine. So Charles Bailey would erect the first hotel near the springs in 1860, which he then shortly sold to the local dentist, D.C. Rowell. Mr. Rowell named his new endeavor the Brunswick Springs House, and would be the first person in the history of the springs to try and sell them when he later opened up a bottling plant. However, this is where the curse kind of starts to hit in. Because in 1894, the Brunswick Springs Hotel completely burned to the ground.
Oof.
Not to be deterred.
They're going to rebuild it.
Yeah, that's right.
Get that insurance money.
Money. The dentist rebuilt somewhere on the bluff between the lake and the river. This time he called it the Pine Crest Lodge. And really we don't know necessarily what happened to the dentist until he died in 1910. However, the lodge would later collapse into the river after the foundation gave way due to what they call erosion and changing.
What is erosion?
What is that? And changing water patterns from the spring. So
maybe the spring was forcibly eroding it by the spirits.
Say, no, come on down. Well, another man came in. His name was John Hutchins. He was from North Stratford and saw the springs as like a surefire like economic victory. He was a druggist, a real estate agent, a mortician, and a lumber baron. But he was very much like, think of Mr. Monopoly. That was him.
Yeah.
He wanted to make headway in politics was his big thing. So he thought that if he could nail Brunswick Springs, he would get his name out there and win fortune. And that would maybe make it easier for him to get into politics. He did not care about the curse. So he bought all of it. He was trying to sell, quote, nature's magic elixir, and he thought he would like be a person of his own. And he was the one who had Ripley come out.
Gotcha.
And he was like, perfect. Now it's national awareness. So from the springs themselves, like the view, you can see down into the Connecticut River, and beyond that, the White Mountains. And up a hill, there's a tiny lake backed against like some granite hills. And so he was like, this is a beautiful landscape, beautiful view. I can build so much stuff on it. So he built a brand new resort hotel with the waters as part of the package on September 19th, 1929. However, the hotel burned down.
I was going to say, I thought you were like, then the Great Depression happened.
No, it was gone before it ever even had a grand opening.
Yikes.
He was not the superstitious type. Good job, Hutcherson. And he wasn't going to give up something that he thought was so profitable. So he rebuilt, only this time he kind of went all out.
It wasn't all out before.
No. Absolutely not. He hired this contractor from Bloomfield, and the guy's name was Harry Savage, who brought this crew out, worked throughout the winter to rebuild. And so the plan was that this new hotel would be open and ready to go by spring. So Hutchins' new hotel would have been remarkable rarity in northern Vermont at that time. It was a 4.5-story construction with 60 rooms featuring like big plate glass windows. Wow. And the spring's water would be pumped into 30 of those rooms. So reservations poured in, and anticipation for opening day was mounting. However,
it burned down again.
On May 15th, 1930, just a month before the hotel was set to open for business, the night watchman spotted smoke billowing out of a storage room.
This feels like a joke.
And by then it was too late. The phone lines were already superheated and snapped, cutting off communication, and the building went up in a fiery billow of smoke.
You know, I know fire code wasn't like great back then.
Nay, don't worry. We're not quite done.
Oh, good.
If John acknowledged any of it, he certainly didn't like make a big deal out of it because he lost 2 hotels in 2 years.
Yeah.
So again, he hired contractor Savage, and his crews worked again through the winter to build another retreat. So by spring of 1931, the new hotel was ready for business, advertised as a, quote, modern city hotel nestling between White and Green Mountains. They printed this beautiful, colorful brochure and advertised Medicine Waters of the Great Spirit, and he still planned on having people be charged to then drink from the springs and have time in it. This hotel was larger than its predecessor. It featured 100 rooms, with the water being pumped into all of them, and 2 brand new Packard limousines were also purchased to transport guests to and from the railroad depot.
Wow.
So now they don't even need to take a carriage. They can ride in style. However, April 23rd, 1931, John C. Hutchins' third and final hotel was struck by an inexplicable inferno.
Oh, God.
So he might have become a believer now with his third hotel burning to the ground because he never rebuilt. And in the years that followed, neither has anyone else. So it seems that the Great Spirit could finally stop counting the days to like burn it to the ground. So, however, we don't really know what causes these flames. The only one they have a guess on is the one from the storage rooms. They think maybe there was combustion of paint fumes, but other ones, they don't know what happened.
Suspicious.
However, it's plausible because of Hutchins' hubris, the higher powers might not have been quite finished with him. Not long after the demise of his third hotel, his health rapidly declined, and he passed away then in 1938. So, at the age of 74. So, the land is now under Abenaki ownership again, who formed a nonprofit organization about a decade ago to purchase it with the help of the Vermont Land Trust. And now they legally prevent any sort of development near the springs.
It's probably good.
Yeah. The springs were really the only reason to ever recognize Brunswick. And because of that, there's almost like an unnoticeable map weirdness here. Old maps, if you look at them, will label it as Brunswick Springs instead of Brunswick's, even till today.
Okay.
Google Maps has the village center as the springs, regardless of like the road signs that lead into Brunswick.
Gotcha.
And still, the Abenaki revere this area as a sacred one and often come here and leave gifts to honor the springs and the spirits that live in the forest. If you were to go back there now, you will see some remnants of the old hotels, such as like staircases and things like that. Along the 6 springs, you'll see some metal pipes on a couple of them, but most of them have eroded away completely. And now the springs just sit and doing their own thing again.
Weird.
So my conspiracy to you is, do you think the land of the Brunswick Springs is cursed?
You know, I feel like there's only 2 options here. Either the guy trying to build all these hotels is an excellent insurance fraud and just realized how much money he could make by burning down his own stuff, or it's cursed.
I just think it's crazy to be like,
or he was really hated, which
Yeah.
I mean, fair.
I mean, there's other things, right? Like, you are building on Native American land that you stole. You know, like, let's talk about, could there be somebody lighting a match under your all wood hotel? Possibly. That being said, I think it's ridiculous that he lost 3 hotels in the matter of like 4 years.
See, I could see like the first one being like someone was mad at him, did it, and then like, oh, look at all this money that I got from my hotel burning down. I guess it just happens again.
Oh no.
And a third time. Like, I could see something like that happening. Or it being like an accident the first time, and then people being like, wow, that was great. Let's curse him.
Another one. But yeah, it's just crazy to me that like first one eroded away, and then then 3 burned down, and no one will build back there. And like people today are still like, nope. You can't profit from this water.
Yeah, that's kind of wild.
I know. I thought it was kind of creepy. Not creepy, but like I thought it was neat how I'm not a big geographical stone person.
Sure.
So to hear of like
all the different minerals
springs
that are in, that's odd.
Coming from like, they call it a knoll. But whenever I think of a knoll, I think of JFK getting shot.
Why?
They said like there was a shot from the grassy knoll. Conspiracy.
I thought he was shot from the guy who was in the building.
Yes, but the theory, that's another conspiracy for another day.
Like a knoll's like a hill.
Knoll's like a hill. But yeah, all 6 of them coming from one hill, like super close together.
There has to be some sort of like underwater springs that they're coming from different places, but it's just weird. Interesting. Very cool. Well, thanks for sharing. That's a weird way to say that. But that kind of wraps up our very first segment with our conspiracies and leads us into our second segment, where we kind of just talk about anything we feel like we want to talk about. And so as we were talking about like different areas of the United States, specifically the Northeast and everything like that, it made me think of, since we're kind of wrapping up this holiday season too, have you ever wanted to, like, have you ever like dreamed or like imagined being in a certain spot for like a certain holiday? Like imagine being like, I always think of like at some point I'd love to be in Times Square for New Year's, but also I don't want to be around that many people. But like just the idea of it sounds like amazing. Like, have you ever thought about that?
Yeah.
Or like specifically, I'd like to do like Christmas season in New York with like the tree and the ice skating and like all that stuff. Like, it just seems fun.
Yeah, I think New York is one that comes to mind immediately. I believe there's a town in Germany that does like all, or maybe it's not Germany. I don't know where it is. Not in the US. That does Christmas very like, think Hallmark movie.
When I was in Poland, it was like Hallmark movie, and then they celebrate it all month of January.
Yeah.
So like all of December and all of January, it's like Hallmark movie perfection.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I think that I would love to spend like a Christmas season over in like a town that does something like that. Listen, doesn't want to go to Ireland for St. Patrick's Day?
That would be fun.
You know, or Germany for Oktoberfest, which is not a holiday.
It counts.
Um,
I also feel like it'd be fun just in the US over Christmas time to do like a ski lodge kind of thing. Like that seems pretty, like ski town. My husband's giving me a weird look. Like Colorado, Denver over Christmas time. Wouldn't that be beautiful?
You don't know how to fucking ski.
Well, he said I don't know how to ski. To which I say I've cross-country skied.
It does not count.
He says it doesn't count, but you know what's in the word cross-country ski? Ski. And I didn't say I wanted to ski. I just said I wanted to sit there.
And listen, I can sled down a hill with the best.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Put me on an inner tube. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
You know, one I think that's like a stereotypic one that's not personally something I would want to do is like Paris over
Valentine's Day.
I don't have really any ambitions to go to Paris.
Everybody I've heard talk to. I haven't talked to that many people that went to Paris. But like I've heard from, it seems like Paris is so touristy, and then you end up just getting mugged. Or like they try to steal your money and yell at you. And it just doesn't seem like fun.
Everybody's like, it's dirty. There's rats everywhere. You have to be very careful with like where you put things.
One of my old teachers almost got like raped on the Eiffel Tower. Like she got cornered. Like it seems like no fun. I don't know.
I'm alright. Like I don't need to do that. I've always wanted to go to Greece. Like I think Greece over
Mediterranean sea like cruise.
I'm like send my ass to Greece instead of Paris over Valentine's Day, and I'll be fine.
That'll be fun.
I'll be just fine with that. Other than that, I'm trying to think if there's any like other big holidays that I'm like.
I mean, I feel like a lot of like obviously like Thanksgiving. Like other countries have Thanksgivings, but like our Thanksgiving is an American holiday. Don't need to necessarily travel.
I'd like to see Salem.
Oh, over Halloween.
Over
that would be
Halloween.
kind of fun. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like certain places in my mind, I think about certain holidays and like what it would be fun with.
I know Maine and stuff has beautiful fall colors. So maybe that would be pretty too. Just like lobster.
I love that.
Seafood boil. Well, that's a fun one to think about. If you're someone who's like, I hate the snow and I hate the cold, Florida, you know?
I feel like I need to have snow on Christmas.
I need snow on Christmas.
Then I could go away.
Yeah, I'm fine with it not being here now.
Well, if you like the episode or have any suggestions for us of where we should travel over a holiday season, definitely send them to us over on X at I don't think so _EH or Threads or Instagram. We'd love to hear, and we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, if you want to pay for me to go anywhere.
Sponsors.
I'll go. If it's to Paris, I'll be fine.
I will go if it's paid for.
If it's paid for, yeah. Put me on a flight.
Absolutely.
There we go. See you all next week.
Bye.